Many of us may be feeling emotionally tender right now. And it's not just you, it's a lot of us. And it's because the astrology of the moment is really getting us to examine our relationships, but not just, oh, this is what I want, this is what I want to experience. It's more about the deeper emotional levels of relationships. And this is because Jupiter is going direct in Cancer this week. Now, Cancer is the ultimate emotional sign. It's the first of the water signs, and it really has a lot to do with our basic emotional needs. Now, of course, many of us, not many of us, all of us, we value being accepted, being loved, being taken care of to a certain extent in our relationships, but it goes a lot deeper than that. And Jupiter going direct in Cancer, along with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, is really going to bring all of this to the forefront. So, if you want to know more, stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new around here, hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if you're new, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So today we're talking about relationships, and we're talking about the emotional roles and the emotional work that we do in them. Now, based on a lot of societal conditioning, a lot of the emotional labor typically falls on the woman or the person who represents the feminine energy in the relationships, right? We are taught that we are nurturing, that we're sensitive, that we're tapped into our emotions. And oftentimes we end up doing the labor for both of us, right? We're the ones who are managing our partner's emotions while managing our own. We think about and consider the other person sometimes before we even think about and consider ourselves. Now, relationships are work. And this is a message that's really been emphasized over the last couple of weeks, at least in my reality. We have all of these fairy tale sort of ideals when it comes to relationships and how they want to look and how we want to feel in them. And those are not invalid. But at the very heart and the very essence of relationships, they require work. And emotional work and emotional labor are things that I think many of us still don't necessarily understand too well. Oftentimes, we learn these lessons through trial and error. We realize, okay, I'm doing a little too much here, or this person isn't considering me at all, right? And it kind of makes you second guess. It makes you really think about, what am I really doing here? Does this work or does it not? And so, with Jupiter going into Cancer, we're kind of going to take a little deep dive into Cancer energy, specifically how it relates to relationships and sort of the emotional patterns that typically show up in relationships and kind of understanding your role in that pattern. All right. And so, one of the things that I typically see in relationships and definitely concerning Cancer energy is emotional over functioning, right? It's too much emotional labor, smothering. It could be very, in today's parlance, very anxious, avoidant energy, anxious, attached energy, right? And that speaks a lot to Cancer energy, basically. So let's talk about that for a second. So, Cancer. Whenever you think of Cancer energy, you can think of kind of the mother archetype. It's nurturing, it's devoted to developing something. It provides protection, it provides safety. It's where emotions are nurtured so that something can grow. I mean, think about just mothers, period, and how they incubate and they develop a child within themselves and then watch them go out into the world and still nurture them and still give them that emotional support, hopefully, right? Whether they do or they don't, it could be another video entirely. However, basic emotional needs are typically fostered by our mothers. And like I said before, the emotional labor in relationships is often borne by the woman or the person who presents as the feminine energy, right? So, healthy Cancer energy, it's protective, it's nurturing, it creates emotional safety, right? Now, everything has a shadow side. When we think about the shadow side of Cancer energy, it's smothering, it's over functioning emotionally, it's guilt driven caretaking. I'm going to repeat that again. It's guilt driven caretaking, where you're providing the emotional safety, but there's a price to it, right? Or you have to guilt people into accepting it or giving back to you. There's also avoiding direct confrontation. Now, healthy Cancer nurture, shadow Cancer manages everyone's emotions. And managing emotions, I'll say this, it's a personal, individual, and inside job. And this is something that many of us are coming to understand in this day and age. The paradigm of the woman, holding it together for the relationship, over giving, managing her partner's emotions. So many of us are moving away from that paradigm. We're moving away from that program because it no longer serves us. Many of us are emotionally depleted, are tired, are drained. You know the phrase, you can't fill someone else's cup if yours is empty, right? You can't fill from an empty cup. But if you're constantly the one that's doing the emotional labor, that's exactly what you're doing. And what ends up happening is you're not only drained, you become resentful. And it could also be one of the contributing factors to the breakdown of a relationship. And we just don't want it anymore. Let's just say that. Now, let's get into something that a lot of us do, have done, myself included, which is over explaining in relationships, right? Now, Cancer, water signs generally, I will say this: Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Boundaries tend to be an issue. I want to say that boundaries tend to be an issue very much for Pisces because Pisces energy lends itself to being boundless, right? To just swimming in the depths of the ocean without a very defined container, right? But to a certain extent, Cancer can also have issues with boundaries, right? And the boundaries here are emotional boundaries. It's like, where does my emotional well-being and my emotions start and end, and where do yours begin? Right? This is an important question for us to tackle. And I think that the energy of the moment is a great time to start tackling and start thinking about and meditating on this concept, right? Typically, over explaining can look like, and I'm looking at my notes if you can't tell, right? Over explaining is like giving a long explanation for a simple boundary, compliment sandwich criticism. I'll get into that in a second. Apologizing for normal needs and cushioning direct communication. Part of the issue with the shadow side of Cancer energy is that it just overcompensates emotionally. And if there are no set boundaries in place, now it's like you don't know where your needs begin, where theirs ends, who's doing what, and someone always ends up being drained, right? Over explaining is often an attempt to keep the emotional environment calm, right? We don't want to upset somebody else. We don't want to rock the boat. We want to keep this bubble. We want to keep the emotions high, or we want to keep them stable, often to our own detriment, right? Often it's like, take for example the need for space. We all need space to ourselves. We cannot be enmeshed in our relationships 24/7 to the point where we lose ourselves. Imagine that you're so enmeshed in your relationship that even stating that boundary is met with resistance. Why do you need space? Do you not like me anymore? Is this relationship not go like all of the sudden there are all of these doubts, all of these things. And it's not to say that that's wrong. That can be a perfectly normal reaction, especially if you haven't really established yourself as an individual, right? That's another topic for another day. But that anxiety of, are you breaking up with me? Do you not like me anymore? Right? And then you start over explaining. Well, why do you need space? I mean, we could do this and we can do that. And it's just like, no. Now, the thing about Jupiter and Cancer is that Jupiter expands everything. So, if you have a relationship where there are healthy emotional boundaries, the emotional well-being of both people are, intact and as well, Jupiter is only going to expand that. So, this could be a time when relationships flourish, especially on the emotional front. However, if you're leaning more towards the shadow side of Jupiter and, lack of boundaries, over explaining, too much emotional labor, Jupiter is going to exacerbate that. Especially now as Jupiter is turning direct this week, this is something that's really going to come front and center. And as difficult as it may be, whenever these kind of transits happen, it's a really great opportunity to course correct. It's a really great opportunity to say, okay, there's an issue here. Let me handle it. Right. And then we have Mercury still retrograde in Pisces, and it's actually going to be trine to Jupiter in Cancer. Now, Mercury retrograde in Pisces is going to add a little retro flavor to it, meaning relationship patterns from the past, emotional patterns from the past, right? Mommy issues, patterns that didn't serve you. Yeah, those are going to come up too. And again, as challenging as that may be, it's ultimately so that you can address them. Whether you have your basic emotional needs met in a relationship should take precedence. And this is where you kind of have to overcome the fantasy. You have to overcome the rose colored glasses and the ideal of what a relationship should be and start looking at what the relationship actually is. Now, if you are not partnered right now, this is a great time to really assess what you need in a relationship emotionally. How do you give love? How do you give acceptance? How do you give emotional support in relationships? Either way, whether you're single or whether you're coupled, this is a great time to assess all of that. So, my advice for the energy of the week and of the moment, talk to yourself, check in with yourself, figure out what the your emotional, I want to say love language, but what your emotional style is, particularly in relationships. Examine your past relationships. Mercury retrograde in Pisces is great for this. Like, how have I been in relationships? What kind of relationships have I continually been in? Or what kind of people or partners do I continually attract? Have there always been issues of I'm doing more emotional labor than I should? My emotional needs aren't being met. I'm clingy, I'm nurturing, I'm smothering because I'm afraid that this person is going to leave. The energy of the moment can foster really great reflection when it comes to all of these things. So use it as such, right? If you're in therapy, this is a great time to talk to your therapist. If you've got something going on in the moment, take a breath and move slowly and be intentional. It's not to say that you should stay in a relationship that isn't serving you, but also don't be so quick to just chop somebody off and kick them to the curb, right? It's really about, okay, having those discussions. Mercury and Pisces is great for this. However, Mercury and Pisces may not necessarily communicate the most effectively. It can lead to miscommunication. It can lead to over idealizing things, swimming around an issue, and not necessarily being direct. So you may want to, I don't want to say rehearse what you're going to say, but really take some time to think about what you need to talk about, what you want to express, and try not to let emotions get in the way too much. This is a great time to express emotion with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, trine Jupiter going direct in Cancer. But you don't want to let emotions run the conversation. You don't want to get overly emotional so that what you need to say and what you need to convey gets kind of lost in the sauce. All right. So, hopefully, you found this video helpful. If you want to understand how this energy is helping you in the moment, or perhaps even how your own emotional style plays out in relationships, then you'll definitely want to sign up for my signature service, which is the blueprint. Now, this is a natal chart reading, but it's anything but a traditional natal chart reading. So I have a specific framework that I use. It's basically three readings in one. It's a progressed lunation reading so that you understand what chapter in life you are in currently. It's a natal chart reading where we really go through your natal chart with a fine-tooth comb to understand how you're designed. And then it's also a transit reading. So you know exactly what transits and what themes are coming up in the moment. This service is jam-packed with a lot of resources, a lot of different information. It's really perhaps one of the most comprehensive readings you will ever get. If you are interested, you can either book a clarity call with me. It's a 15-minute clarity call for free where we discuss basically what I just talked about and whether the service is right for you. Or if you know that you want to get the ball rolling, the link to book the blueprint is in the description box below. All right, my loves, I really hope and pray that this week is enlightening for you, especially on the emotional front. We're wired for connection. We're wired for relationships. But sometimes emotions get a little wonky. Sometimes we're not necessarily leading with the right emotional foot. But thankfully, the energy of the moment can help us course correct and can help us truly understand ourselves and thereby have better relationships. All right, my loves, thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.